Okay, here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is. I hope it's good to be where you are because it is certainly good to be here. My name is Baltimore Fats, and this is Mud City Super Bowl Special. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl a little bit today. If you haven't been paying attention, the Super Bowl the NFL rather, is completely rigged. It's just like professional wrestling. In many, many ways, and not every way, but in that the outcomes are determined, and things are storylines are manipulated. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the storyline of uh, the New England Patriots and the last 20 years of Super Bowl history, just a little bit. I saw this meme out there and I thought it was hilarious, so I saved it. But one thing that you need to know is that I am the world's biggest New England Patriots fan. And there I am, getting ready for the game. I've had this New England Patriots t-shirt since 1991. I got it for Christmas 1991, so I've had that for 27 years now. And although I do have to reiterate that I 100% understand that the NFL is a rigged system and that it is entertainment. I understand 100% that it is entertainment, and I do not care, and I love it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my love of the New England Patriots in history, and to do that, I need to start with this guy. Now, of course, I wanted to start with a picture of me as like a 10-year-old, but fortunately, I could not find one in time. I have some somewhere. I just don't know where they are right now. So this is Steve Grogan, and he would have been the quarterback for the New England Patriots when I first became aware of them. I always loved the game of football from the first time I ever remember playing it on the street with neighborhood kids. But I didn't, growing up where I did in Southern Connecticut, I didn't understand that there was a New England or even a Boston football team. Because when I did go north to Danvers, Mass, it was always in the summertime, and it was Red Sox season, and they weren't talking about the New England Patriots in Boston in the summertime. It was all about the Red Sox, and my dad never talked about them, but when I was a kid, my dad worked nights, so I didn't unfortunately get to spend too much time with my dad. But as a kid, but when I did start to become old enough and like 9, 10 to really start paying attention to sports, I would look at would play youth soccer leagues, and and they used to publish our league standings in the local paper. And so I got in the habit of checking the local sports pages when I was really young. And so once I started to get interested in football, it was still natural for me to go to the sports pages, and I would see that New England had a team, and they were always at the bottom. But I'm a homer, and so I didn't understand. Where I lived in Southern Connecticut was close to the New York border, right? So everybody in Southern Connecticut, where I grew up, was Yankees fans, Mets fans, Giants fans, Jets fans, Rangers, Islanders, Knicks, but I didn't get it. I was like, but Connecticut's part of New England. Why are we not? Why isn't everybody a New England Patriots fan? Why would you root for a Jets team or a Giants team that isn't even part of New England? We're part of New England. So I adopted the Patriots as my team, and I loved them. I loved them a lot, even when they were terrible. I loved their ugly uniform. It was definitely love at first sight for me in the New England Patriots when I was a kid. And so before I continue on with that, I'm going to discuss a little bit why it's like WrestleMania. Why the Super Bowl is just like WrestleMania. And again, this is not new information. Anybody out there doing any sort of research in this type of thing knows that football's staged as they come. So it was right around in this neighborhood. Well, they had a good year in 1980. It was in this neighborhood that I really became, that my fandom was cemented, right? And when I got to be a little bit older, uh, and actually the first time I ever actually got to see the Patriots on television was for the AFC Championship game for this 1985 season. They just were not on television in Southern Connecticut, and at the time there's a hilarious story about they were banned from Monday Night Football, so they were never on Monday Night Football in the 80s. And was the AFC Championship game. That's the first time I ever got to see them on TV, which I had to think about when I was putting this together. And so things were all right here, and then they really slumped again. And this was the year I got the shirt for Christmas. So they've been worse. But around this time when I was like 21, 22, I got my first real job, and it was the end of this season, this 2-14, 1992 season. I looked at my brother. I said, let's go see the last game of the year. We've never been to a football game. Let's just go. So we went, and we had a blast, and the stadium was empty. And here it is. This is the old Schaefer Stadium that was the home of the New England Patriots. So we went, and we had such a good time. The stadium was like a third empty. And I said, we're just going to come every week next year, And then they announced that they had hired Bill Parcells over the summer. And so I scraped together enough, and I got season tickets. And so I was a season ticket holder for the New England Patriots from 1993 to 1999. And my seat was somewhere up in here. And those were some of the best years of my life. I have some great stories from that time. I can't even get into those stories. This video would never end. Mafia got me drunk once. I'll drop that one in there. And that's when, so that was the era of Drew Bledsoe. He was the quarterback. And, Drew was my boy. And like I said, it was so great. But then at the end of the 1999 season, they announced they were going to build the new stadium, Gillette, which I did not. Everybody's seen enough of Gillette, I think. I did not pull up a picture of Gillette. But they announced the building of Gillette, and they doubled the cost of my season ticket and also added a personal seat license for the Gillette Stadium. And that was just too rich for my blood at the time, in the late 90s. My ticket at the time, my two tickets, I believe, were still under $1,000 for the pair. And then it went up to like $2,500 or $2,600 or some, it was going to be like a two-tiered thing. And they had just announced the hiring of Belichick, and I had gone on a nice 6-year run. I saw an AFC Championship game at home that they won, and that's the best you're going to get as a season ticket holder for your team in the NFL. And so I decided to let them go. And so that's why, and once their dynasty sort of exploded a few years after that, I've been telling everyone for the last almost 20 years that it's my fault. It's my fault that this dynasty has happened in professional football. And I'm going to use professional in quotes or air quotes, okay? Because I gave up my season tickets, they went on and did this. But also, when I was young and they were really terrible, and I was first developing my love for the game, I wanted to know a lot about the game of football. And so my elementary school library had books about like the 72 undefeated Dolphins, like easy read books, and about some of the players at the time. I think Frank Tarkenton might have been one, and he was also like on That's Incredible, which I loved. I don't know if anybody remembers That's Incredible. So anyway, they hire Bill. I give up my season tickets. They hire Belichick. Their first year with him, 2000, they're not so good, and then this happens. Yeah, I think I have it on. Yeah. 9/11 happens. Right after week 2 of the 2001 NFL season, and it's funny when I looked at this material the other day I was surprised that I had like a Mandela effect, right? A Nelson Mandela effect, right? I could have sworn that Drew Bledsoe got hurt and Tom Brady came in as his replacements before 9/11. Like the football season got started early that year because there was a couple of years the first game was like at the end of August. But that wasn't the case. When I looked in, there was the first week of football, then 9/11 happened, and the NFL took the next week off for a nation in grieving. Everything was suspended that following weekend, and then they picked up play again. I guess it would have been like the 23rd or whatever. I don't know what the date is. Okay, and so now we're going to get into how it's scripted like the WWE and the script that's been happening since 9/11. And it has its ups and downs and changes, but I just want to kind of draw attention to, I think, how this has been playing out for the last 20 years. And all of this goes back to that day. You talk to any of my oldest friends and family, I'll tell you, I knew football was fixed. But at the time, I thought more it was just like for sports booking and things like that. I didn't really think about the scripted element. And I don't, and again, I don't know, because again, with coincidences, I don't know. Is it a coincidence that 9/11 happened? And then the NFL became really, really scripted? Or are 9/11 and the NFL co-scripted events? It's kind of an interesting line of thought for me. Because especially once I show you this. So the Patriots pick up play against the New York Jets in Foxborough the following week. And, of course, I knew the Jets were going to win. The Jets won that game. I knew they were going to win that game, of course, because of what happened in New York. And so I'm going to show, this is the play that takes out Drew Bledsoe. Nope, that's not the play. This is the wrong clip. Wait a minute now. What happened? Give me my cursor. Thank you. Sorry, guys. A little weirdness. This is the play that took out Drew Bledsoe. And I'm just going to do, I never really do this, and I don't know how much stock I put in it, because, again, my reality is so wide open, everything and anything, or nothing at all. And so I don't really put much into, like, the gematria. That's too bad. Sorry, guys. I thought I had that set up not to do an ad. So this is the play that's going to take him out. And, sorry, I have it on silent so it's not that echo. He comes on, he doesn't see anything. He's got to get out of there. The rush is coming. He's got 92 chasing him, and 57 just levels him. Oh, my God, right? And so I want to think about what just happened there. Number 92 is the player at Drew Bledsoe's feet. 9 and 2 is 11, right? And the player that took him out, oh, I still missed him. Let's see. There he is. 57. 5 plus 7 is 12. All right, and 11, the Twin Towers. All right, symbolism, taken out by 12. 57, 5 plus 7. 12, 1 plus 2 is 3. And what do you need to be in reality? 3 points to track your three-dimensional location. So, and now, I never realized that. When I realized I wanted to do a Super Bowl special about my love for the Patriots and how I know the whole thing is rigged, and I wanted to look at these numbers because I thought Mo Lewis's number here, 57, I thought he was going to add up to 9. So it would be 9 and 11, and I didn't even think about the player at his feet. So I thought that was interesting, that there was a player whose numbers come to 11 at Drew Bledsoe's feet. Drew Bledsoe's number 11, 57 is 12, Tom Brady is 12, and then they, hello. And then they go on to play and in the Super Bowl that year against the Rams. And I'm not going to get into the Rams or break it all down. This is just, so I knew the Patriots were going to win, right? Because I'm a conspiracy theorist. I know sports is rigged. I know that 9/11 and they're going to play on this knee, but I didn't care. I still don't care, of course. But, for me, it was like, I was going to get mine, and, but it's funny, of course, because I always dreamed of them winning the Super Bowl from when I was first reading those early books about like the undefeated Dolphins. I did a wish upon a star. I remember clearly that the Patriots would one day beat the Dolphins record, which they did, but they didn't win them all. And so this is why I blame everything on me, because I did, there were no Patriots fans when I was a kid in my neighborhood. I doubt there were any Patriot fans in Boston at the time. But yeah, I just didn't see how it was going to go, and this is where it gets interesting. What they need to keep going with this, and so a few years after the Patriots win their first couple Super Bowls, and I'm going to get into some numbers here with the Super Bowl real quick. Because why script it? Why make it what it is? And I'm just going to read this. There's a bit here. All right, Super Bowl Sunday is the second largest day for U.S. food consumption after Thanksgiving. I didn't realize that. That was an interesting fact to come across. That goes into the whole bread and circuses distraction thing. And one thing I'm not going to do it. One thing I wanted to look and see if there were any major sort of pagan ritual holidays around the first weekend in February, because also after 9/11 it was the first time that the Super Bowl was held the first weekend in February, and there's probably some significance there along the way. So in addition, the Super Bowl has frequently been the most watched American television broadcast of the year. 7 of the most watched broadcasts in U.S. television history are Super Bowl. Now, that's kind of a weird statement. Does that mean the top 7? How many is it? The top 7 of 10? But that is crazy. Even if it is, 7 of 10 or even 7 of 20. That says a lot about how jacked in America is to the Super Bowl. And I wanted to get a little bit about the history. I'm not going to go into it too deeply, but because I want to tie again, because it's it's Mud City, and there's got to be a mud flood angle, right? Of course, there's a mud flood angle. So the original bowl game, and I think it was Lamar Hunt, the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs, when they did the NFL AFL merger in the late '60s. He called the championship game a Super Bowl, but the original bowl game was the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, which was first played in 1902. As part of the Pasadena Tournament of Roses. Now, I never gave any thought to this, but Tournament of Roses made me think, and then thinking about Rose, and where do I know the Rose from? Of course, so I wanted to follow through on this line a little bit, and I came to the Rose. I clicked on the Rose Parade, and the first thing here it says not to be confused with the Roses Tournament, an annual sports competition between Lancaster University and the University of York. And I was like, no, let us confuse the two. And so it says the Roses Tournament is an annual sports competition between Lancaster University and the University of York in England, often described as the largest inter-university sports tournament in Europe. It is organized by their respective student unions, YUSU and LUSU. It takes its name from the 15th century Civil War, the War of the Roses between the House Lancaster and the House of York, which of course establishes the Tudor dynasty and the Tudor Roses. which I think is an amazing connection to make to the Super Bowl. um, you want to talk about your bread and circuses. I'm not going to get all into it because this is not about that, and I am timing. So I thought that was an amazing connection to make, and I wanted to follow through a little bit more because I saw Yale Bowl's name here, and I grew up when I was a teenager. I lived in West Haven, Connecticut, about a mile from Yale Bowl, and so I wanted to find out about Yale Bowl, right? Because they say the Rose Bowl is modeled after the Yale Bowl, right? And it's it's a college football stadium in New Haven, and it's home of the Bulldogs, the Ivy League, of course, right? It opened in 1914. All right, inspired the design and naming of the Rose Bowl. All right, which I'll look at again quickly. From which is derived the name of college football's postseason games in the NFL Super Bowl. So now the Rose Bowl is tied to Yale. Yale, of course, Skull and Bones and all of that. The use of the word bowl as a tie to rose can be, loosely connected to the Tudors, right? Especially now that we're bringing bowl into Yale. I have to believe. And now, of course, I wish I knew about mud flood and was paying attention to this kind of history when I lived in Connecticut. Who knows what I could find out about Yale? But thinking back about it is definitely Gothic stuff, right? So this is what it talks about. It says ground was broken on August 1913, and the facade was designed to partially echo the campus's neo-Gothic design. And there are buildings in Yale that look like that. Nothing quite that ornate that I remember. But again, I wasn't paying attention, and I was losing my vision the whole time. So, but there was a little bit about the history here that is, where did it go? Yeah, the Yale Bowl's designer, Charles A. Ferry, for unknown reasons chose not to include locker rooms or restrooms. And so that makes me think about, some of these other buildings that had to be modified in the post quote-unquote mud event era, that were not outfitted for any sort of modern convenience at all, right? No locker rooms or restrooms in a stadium that's being designed to play the games in. And it says, for unknown reasons. He just never decided why. I wonder, maybe if I ever get back to Connecticut for a weekend, I'll go to the Yale Library and see if I can't pull up some New Haven registers from the time and see if they made him accountable for that at all. So there it is. There's Yale Bowl. So it makes me think it's recovered, right? This was something that was there, and they recovered it. And definitely as a teenager and an adult living near it, it definitely had that sort of faux Roman kind of look to it. And although I never went inside. I did trespass when I was like 14, because there was a cemetery that was near here, and you could sort of sneak through. Well, anyway, all right, that's a good sign for me to. So, yeah, interesting. And then when we get to like the scripting of it to create massive ratings, and hypnotize the public, give them those breads and circuses. And that's what I think the New England Patriots dynasty has been since, and we're going to get into a little bit into the ownership and everything. But once 9/11 happens, once 2001 passes and the dynasty sort of begins in 2003, once we get to, and this is again where we get to the distraction aspect of it and how jacked in they want American society. They want American society to be in. They want us all to be distracted. Of course, this is nothing new. When we had the undefeated year in Spygate, and so I went to Spygate. Oh, that's Yale Bowl. I went to Spygate, which happened on September 9th. And so I just wanted to look quickly. I did a search for headlines for September 10th, and there's a couple of interesting ones. U.S. building a military base near Iraq and Iran border. Thought that was an interesting headline that I don't remember getting any play at the time. They talk about the progress of what was happening in the Iraq War and how not going so good, right? The Iraqis say surge is failing, right? Conditions are worsening. They reject the 2010 withdrawal, and this was in 2007. So they're even saying there's no way we're getting this thing done in 3 years. Bin Laden releases a new video that day. So all of this stuff, I don't remember. None of that stuff was getting headlines. What was getting headlines, of course, was the taping of signals, which was the most ridiculous thing in the history of fake sports. Right? I mean, people have been taping signals, or trying to record signals since, sports began. I mean, it's not anything new. And if you don't think every team, in any sort of organized sport doesn't realize that things like that happen, then you are dreaming. I mean, they played America like a fiddle for it. And they continue to do so to this day. And they did the same thing with the Deflategate thing. They're, creating this villain role, which mirrors the villain role that the U.S. is playing on the main stage. So, like, the New England Patriots is sort of like a sports entertainment microcosm of America, and again, I don't know how far in advance these things are played. Was the Boston Patriots, when they were created in 1959, was that the end game? Were they thinking 70 years ahead? I don't know. It's possible. But I definitely think that plays a part of it. And one of the reasons why the Patriots are as successful as they are, and whether it's that they lucked out in being the Patriots when 9/11 happened, and the NFL was realizing at the same time that they could make a storyline based around this. I mean, they essentially created full arcs for Brady and Belichick, from heroes to villains, back to heroes, underdogs to greatest comebacks in the history of sports. I mean, really, one of the only things left for Brady to do in the Super Bowl is have a blowout. So I wonder if maybe they'll give him that today. I don't know. It'll be great for me. I'm gonna have a blast watching this game today. I tell you, I have nicknames for a lot of the players. I like to yell at the TV and the announcers. I have so much fun watching the Patriots play. Let me tell you. So it's all distraction. It's all the bread and circuses. And and we're going to continue. I had a little bit more with Robert Kraft, and of course, you want to continue with conspiracy, and I'm not going to go this way, and eventually I'll have to, I'm sure, because the L. Gordon building has the Star of David on it, and Zionism, but Robert Kraft has his Zionist connections, and this year he won the Jewish Nobel Prize, which was $1 million in some award. He gave the $1 million to somebody, but he won it for his outstanding professional achievement, contribution to humanity, and commitment to Jewish values in Israel, and also for his combating anti-Semitism, right? And but he also, there's more. And they talk a little bit about his Zionist affiliations here, but then it also says that they've donated to the College of the Holy Cross and Boston College for Judaic Studies, and both colleges are Jesuit universities. So playing both sides, and to me this just says that there are no sides. It's all one big side, like the Jesuit agenda, the Zionist agenda. They're the same agenda of something else. They're just giving many different facets to divide us and our thoughts and our attentions. There's another funny story about Kraft. Vladimir Putin stole his Super Bowl ring. He relays a story here about how he took out the ring to show it to Putin. He put it on and he goes, "I could kill someone with this ring." Kraft said at the event this week via the New York Post. And so Kraft says, "I put my hand out and he put it in it, and he put the ring in his pocket. and 3 KGB guys go around him and walked out. So he just lets him go. And as the White House called Kraft and insisted he let Putin keep the ring, he says, it really would be in the best interest of U.S.-Soviet relations if you meant to give the ring as a present. Kraft said he was told on the White House call, I really didn't want to. I had an emotional tie to the ring. It has my name on it, and I don't want to see it on eBay. So funny, the government calling in a favor. And this was in 2005. Bush was president. Tensions were, I guess, still pretty high in, with the Middle East and things. And so I thought those are funny. Also, connections tying into how fixed these things could be. How deep you want to bring your conspiracy theory into it. Or is it all just about the ratings and the money? And creating heroes, and that's what they do with sport today. Tom Brady is the new, Perseus, Hercules, Apollo. I mean, who is he? I mean, that's what they do. They're recreating the myths. And so I apologize to the world for making this happen when I was 10 and wishing upon a star that the Patriots would be the greatest team ever. I didn't think it was going to last for 20 years. But I am going to have a blast watching this game tonight. And if you watch the game, I hope you have fun too. And just remember that it is entertainment, and that the music and the commercials and the visuals and the flashing, everything, it's all designed to get reactions from you. And so, I don't know. I think it's fun. I just roll with it and have a good time. And it certainly helps that it's been the Patriots. And but it's not going to last forever. But who knows? Maybe he'll get a double infinity gauntlet of Super Bowl rings. But I don't know. All right. That's enough annoying Patriot fan talk for now. That's my Super Bowl presentation. Go Pats. Please, everyone, be well. And thank you so much for watching, listening. And if you like what's going on, please like, share, and subscribe. And until the next one, cheers, guys.